Hello and welcome. I'm Stacey, your Disney hotel lady, and this week we have another creator interview for you. With me today is Amanda from Cactus to the Castle. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, tell us a little bit about your background and your love for Disney and how you travel there, how often, things like that.
Like Stacey said, I'm Amanda. I'm half of Cactus to the Castle. I share my page with my sister, although she is a very busy lady in pre-med school for or school for pre-med. So she does not get to travel to Disney as much as I do nowadays. But we do share our page together. We both grew up going to Disneyland all the time, grew up in the East Valley in Arizona, the Phoenix metro area. And basically, every vacation we ever took was to Disneyland. Our mom loves Disney, so that's where we get it from. And yeah, so
Nice.
we started our page in like 2019, but then like didn't really pick up ground until after we were able to actually return to the parks after COVID. So we've been doing this for a few years now, but so much fun. I try to get to Disneyland as much as I possibly can. I had a magic key for a long time, and then actually it just expired in September. So I will probably be going a little bit less, but I'm hoping to still make at least like 3 trips a year is my goal.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it's can be hard sometimes to keep that annual pass going. And do you travel with different people, the same people? How many do you travel with normally when you go to Disneyland?
So it kind of just depends. Sometimes I go with my family. Like I said, my mom's a big Disney person, my sister obviously. So sometimes we travel as a family. Sometimes I'm going with my friends. So it kind of varies. This most recent trip that I went on, I was solo with a group that I was meeting there. So occasionally that happens as well. If I travel solo, I tend to fly into specifically Long Beach and then over to Disneyland. But usually, if I'm traveling with friends or family, we typically will drive. And it's about 5.5 hours from where I live in Phoenix.
Okay. Yeah, I like Long Beach. I feel so like 50s, catch me if you can, getting off the plane. I feel like I need to have gloves or something on, like getting off the
Yeah.
plane with the stairs and everything.
Yep, that is my favorite airport to fly into, and it's typically the cheapest too. So
Yes.
why I choose that one.
All right. Okay, well, let's go on and get into our more specific hotel questions for you. So, for a first timer who has never been to Disneyland, might be planning their very first trip, what hotels would you recommend for a first timer and why?
So specifically for families, and that's kind of what I was thinking. Typically that's the question I get the most is like which ones do you recommend for families? Like we're going to Disneyland for the first time. So my personal favorite hotel in the area is off property and it's the Howard Johnson of Anaheim. It's wonderful for families because it has a water park. There's a hot tub in like the little water park area for parents or adults that are watching the kids. There's a pool. It's just very kid friendly. Um, Even when you check in, they give children like little pirate hats, and the water park is pirate themed, and they have little hidden rubber duckies all over property.
Like a cruise
It
ship.
What was that?
Like a cruise ship, the hidden ducks, they do all that
Yeah,
on cruise ships.
yeah, and they sell them in like their little gift shop too. So I really like the hotel, and I've had nothing but positive experiences with the Howard Johnson. So plus, it's only about an 8-minute walk to the parks, which is very, very, very convenient for families. You can easily take like a midday break there and not have to wait around for a shuttle or anything like that. So um That one is probably my number one. My number two for families would be The Element, which is by Weston. And that one, again, is amazing for families. Every single room has a kitchenette. So if you need like a
Nice.
refrigerator, a microwave, they even have stove tops. So you can make any food for your family that you need or store anything. They have the best breakfast in the whole area and it's free, which is wonderful. They're so innovative too that they actually have you ever been there, Stacey?
I have not been there yet, but I have heard that the breakfast is
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah, so they actually have like two entrances that you can go into, and they have the exact same food on both sides, but it's just for crowd control because they know like people are trying to get in and get their food quickly and get to the parks to rope drop or whatever. So the breakfast is just incredible. And I have some dietary restrictions. I can't have dairy, and they have vegan options and vegetarian options and gluten-free options. So it's really good for everybody. Um, that hotel is a little bit further away. It's something that I don't mind walking. It's about like a 15-minute walk, but I know some people wouldn't like that. But they do have an art bus stop right in front of the hotel that you could easily hop on and do that and get to the parks pretty easy. And then let's see, one more. This one's kind of a pricier option, but it is the closest to the park would be the Courtyard,
Okay.
um, Anaheim. And that one also has a wonderful water park for families. The rooms actually have two showers, which I can imagine if you're traveling with a huge family. I know when I'm with my family, we always have to like schedule when we're taking showers and getting ready in the morning and stuff. And having two showers, that would make everything so much easier. And they have bunk beds for kids, and it's just a lot of fun. So, and that one is only about like a 6-minute walk to the parks. So it's even closer.
Okay, well, yeah, I have not stayed at any of those, so I have a lot of catching up with you to do, a lot of work to do. Okay, what about the Disney property hotels? Is there one there? There's only three, so is one of them your favorite, or do you like them all?
Yeah, so I stayed at the Paradise Pier Hotel before it was remodeled to Pixar Pier. So that one I haven't stayed at since it was remodeled, and I've actually never stayed at the Disneyland Hotel. So the only one I've stayed at is the Grand Californian, but I think it would be my favorite anyway. Even on a trip, I've only stayed at there one time, but pretty much every single trip I go on to Disneyland, I always pop into the Grand Californian. I love to just sit in the lobby and sit by the fireplace, or during the holidays, go in and smell the gingerbread house, see the Christmas tree. It's just I just love being there. And the restaurants are fantastic as well. I love the Craftsman Grill or Craftsman Bar. The Hearthstone Lounge is a really good place to get like a little snack or a drink and take a midday break from the parks. I want to eat at Napa Rose. I never have, but that's on my bucket list for Disneyland is to eat at Napa Rose sometime. But I just love that hotel, and the convenience of basically being in California Adventure is so cool. The one time I did stay there, I remember we went on Grizzly Peak and we got wet, but that was the last ride of the day, and all we had to do was just walk across the sidewalk and go right into the Grand Californian and go up to our hotel room. So I I just love that hotel.
Yeah, that's pretty nice being that close. It's my husband's favorite too, but I think he likes it for the he appreciates the craftsman style of it. And he loves the Hearthstone Lounge because they have such a large selection of whiskeys and scotches, particularly
Hmm.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And okay, we've So that's Grand Californian is your favorite on property. We talked about your favorite is the Howard Johnson or the Elements or the Courtyard for off property and being close proximity for walking. Anything else that stands out in terms of the convenience or the value or being family friendly, or did we cover all of it?
I think we covered all of it. The only other off-property one that I really like, which I've actually never stayed here, I've only toured it, but I know people who have stayed here, is the Cambria. And I
Okay.
know, so my travel partner is Getaway Today, and that's who I toured the hotel with. But I know the Cambria is like one of their top sellers, if not their top seller. It's a little bit further away from the park, like, you need to take the shuttle because you have to cross, like, the highway right there, so I would not walk it, but they have a wonderful water park that is free if you book with Getaway Today, and they have a really good free breakfast also, so I definitely recommend that one to families too if you're not looking for something that's walking distance and you're okay with riding the shuttle back and forth to the parks all of the time. I would recommend that one.
Okay, yeah, the art shuttle. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know I haven't stayed there either, but I have eaten in the parking lot of that hotel. They have the little shopping center with all the different restaurants and food choices. So I have been there and I look at the hotel and I'm like, "Oh, I need to stay there sometime."
Yeah, and that's really convenient that they have all those food options. I've ate at the Habit that's over there. I think they have a Jersey Mike's, and they just have like a couple, little quick restaurants in there that are so convenient.
Yeah, we stayed across the street at the Candlewood, I think it was. And when we went out to that pool, you could see across the street to the Cambria, and they're little, not little, like they're big. So by comparison, I was like, oh, I hope there's no kids coming out to this pool and then looking across the street and getting jealous that they can't go over there and do those slides and all that fun looking stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they would be jealous. That one is huge. And another thing I learned when I toured it is that they do movies out there too. So like where the water park is, and this might only be in the summertime, but they have like a big projection screen and they actually do movies out there as well.
Oh,
So it just
cool.
seems very, very family friendly.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, so what about affordability? Do all of these hotels fall in the same value category, or do you have other recommendations that are more towards the budget end of a family trip?
Yeah, so out of those, I would say the Cambria is the most affordable, and then the Element, Howard Johnson, and then Courtyard would be the most expensive. Um, I know that budget is always something that it totally varies depending on who you are. For me, anytime I can stay at one of the Good Neighbor hotels, that's so much more affordable than the Disney property hotels that like that fits into my budget. Something and to bring up Getaway Today again, something that they are really, really good at is if I'm not sure where I want to stay, but I know my budget, I just give them a call and I'm like, "Hey, this is about like what I'm wanting to spend. Can you search for like these days that I'm going and can you help me out?" And they're able to do that. Or if I'm looking for myself, sometimes I look at they often have perks with hotels like free breakfast. Like for example, last week when I was there, I stayed at the Suncoast, and the Suncoast has like a really nice sit down breakfast where you can order like an actual plate of food, like bacon, eggs, waffles. Or they have like on the go items like oatmeal or a croissant sandwich or something like that that you could take on the go, which typically you would have to pay for that. And the meals are anywhere between like $10 and $15 probably. But when you book with Getaway Today, you get breakfast for free every morning for everybody in your party. So those are the kind of things I look for. Or free parking. There's a lot of hotels, again, with the Suncoast, the parking is free there if you book with Getaway Today. So that's something that I factor into it as well. Um, Like when you think about the element, you might be paying about $200 to $300 a night, but you're getting free breakfast every day. And if you're a family of five and you get free breakfast every single morning, that's saving you a lot of money by getting that free food. And they do discounted parking with Getaway today. Um, so to me, you kind of have to factor in all of that, right? There are some walkable hotels that are on harbor, like the Tropicana tends to be a little bit cheaper. There's like the Desert Inn and Suites, I think is what it's called, is a little bit more affordable. But also, I find that some of those hotels are not as comfortable as the other ones. That's something, and this might come up later as we're chatting too, but that's something I really look for is like, how comfortable is the bed? Because if I'm
Mm.
walking 20,000 steps in a day, I need a comfortable bed to sleep in the next night, like, or to wake up in the next morning. And so like I said, budget is all kind of like for me, I find that it's budget friendly if it's not the Disneyland hotel prices, and I'm getting free breakfast and free parking. So it kind of varies. I always recommend people just give Getaway a call and ask them, like, hey, these are my dates. This is my price range that I'm trying to stick in. What can you get me for this price? And I will say I love to be able to walk to the parks, like I said, but if you do stay somewhere further away and you are okay with taking a shuttle, you will save money doing it that way.
Mhm. Yeah, Getaway today is my partner also, but for those watching, any travel agents that you might be looking at or you might have, they all can help you with this kind of stuff, and that's where they really come in handy in giving you advice on. Just if you're not sure, tell them, oh, these are my dates and this is my budget, and they can give you all kinds of options. So that's a really good tool or asset to take advantage of for sure. What
Mhm.
about do's and don'ts? Is there a common mistake if you've been doing this since 2019? Is there something you see people doing over and over when they're booking their hotel, booking their trip, and it's not the best way to go about it? Or did the question you get, like, what should I do? What shouldn't I do?
Mhm. So I would say like a number one do, but I see people make this mistake is kind of piggybacking off what you just said, is just booking with a travel agent. There are some travel agencies that will charge you extra for things, but the majority of them, like Getaway, I even know like Undercover Tourist and like a lot of those big travel agencies, they don't charge you anything for their services. In fact, Disney's like already paying them. And when you pay for your hotel, when you pay for your Disneyland tickets, you're already paying for a travel agent and you don't even know that. It's just built into the cost. So use a travel agent because they will monitor pricing. If a sale pops up, they will take care of that for you. They can answer any questions you have. I mean, like you said, I've been doing this since 2019 and I've been going to Disneyland my whole life. But there are still things that I don't know. Even I always book with a travel agent because sometimes they are still more knowledgeable than I am. Or Disneyland is just ever changing also. Like when I was just there on Saturday and Sunday, you had to get a virtual queue for Haunted Mansion. And then like Monday or Tuesday, they changed it to, oh, never mind, you don't need a virtual queue anymore. It's a standby line or a lightning lane. And it's like I'm completely immersed in the world being a content creator. And, a lot of my niche is Disneyland. But if not, I would be so lost. I've gone with friends for their first trip to Disneyland, and they're like, if I didn't have you as my tour guide, I wouldn't know what to do. So a travel agent will help you with all of that stuff. And that's regardless of if you're going to Disneyland or Disney World or any of the Disney parks. So use a
Yeah.
travel agent. Even if you think you know everything, I promise you don't. So just use one. Um, and then for me, and I already mentioned like walking. I've tried to stay at hotels where I had to take a shuttle at the end of the night. And honestly, it's more exhausting sitting and waiting for a shuttle at the end of the night than it is just walking at that point. Because as soon as this is at least how I am, as soon as I stop moving, I get so exhausted. And I'm like, if I would have just kept moving, kept walking, I would have been fine. Um, so I always choose somewhere that's walking distance. And also, like saving up for your trip and kind of feeling okay with splurging on one of those hotels that's more comfortable and more clean, because there are some great budget options, but at the end of the night when you're exhausted, you want somewhere that's going to be really comfortable for you. So I would rather push my trip back a couple months and save, a couple more $100 and stay somewhere where I'm going to feel more comfortable than rushing my trip and staying somewhere where the beds aren't as nice or it just doesn't feel as clean. So,
Yeah, the same. Yeah, I feel the same. It's a lot of people are like, "Oh, we just need a bed and a shower." And I'm like, "Well, that might be true, but I still want it to be, clean and comfortable bed and showers." So, I've had a couple not great experiences. I'm sure we all have that teach us that lesson. I
yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's maybe compare and contrast a little bit here. So we've talked a little bit about the Disney owned hotels, the three that are Disneyland owned hotels, because it that's a great difference for us closer to Disneyland. We have a lot of these offsite options that Disney World doesn't really have. Disney World is kind of more on a bubble type thing, but Disneyland, we get to choose from all these other brands that are some even closer than some of the Disneyland
Mhm.
hotels, which is odd. But I'm going off track here. Let's. What are you looking for when you're comparing whether to, like, if the budget wasn't a concern, would you go straight for a Disney owned hotel, or would you still go to a non Disney hotel for some amenity or feature that's offered at that hotel?
Oh goodness. Well, if budget was never a concern, I would just stay at the Grand Californian every single time. I wish that was the case. Because I would pick the Grand Californian over anything else in the area if budget was not. But unfortunately, budget does matter. So to me, like I said, I've only stayed at the Grand Californian once, and I haven't stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, and I haven't stayed at the Paradise Pier since I was a teenager. That is now the Pixar Place Hotel. But so for me, obviously the Disney Hotel is not worth spending the extra money. Um, you're not at the hotel enough during the day that I feel like you can really take advantage of the perks. So when I'm in the parks, I'm typically like a rope drop to almost closed person and sometimes take a midday break, but not very often. I find
Oh.
that I can take a midday break by like reserving dining for lunch and sitting down for a little bit, or doing the tiki room or PhilharMagic, and like I find ways to take a midday break in the perks. When I was just there on Saturday, I literally sat in the animation building for like an hour and a half just on a couch and just listening, and like that's amazing to me. So but anyway, I'm digressing. So I don't spend a lot of time in the hotel when I'm at Disneyland. So to me, the perks, and although the Disney hotels have amazing perks, their pools are great. They have wonderful restaurants. They do have early entry, but it's only 30 minutes, so it doesn't really give
Yeah.
you that much time. Um, to me, it's not worth it. In fact, I've said, like, if I ever stay at the Disneyland Hotel or if I go back to the Grand Californian, I probably would just do a rest day if I'm staying at those hotels because I want to take full advantage of being at that hotel. Um, because typically I don't do that if I go to Disneyland. So that's why I normally choose the Good Neighbor hotels. And like you said, some of those hotels are even closer. Like the Howard Johnson is a closer walk to Disneyland than the Disneyland Hotel is, unless you
Yeah.
hop on the monorail. Like, That's
Yep.
and to get into California Adventure, you can't do that. So the Pixar place is even further away. They have the private entrance into California Adventure, but if you're going to Disneyland, that's not super convenient for you.
Yeah.
So to me, if budget was not an issue, then I would always pick the Grand Californian. But with budget and considering all of that, it just makes more sense to me to be at a good neighbor hotel.
Okay. Yeah, you're opposite of me actually. I'm all about the breaks. So, I do the sitting down in the more quiet places or the shows for a break in the park, but sometimes it's just, sensory overload and I just need a space that's mine and
Hmm.
decompress for a little bit. But that's good because we're all different, right? We all have different needs, and that's why we like to do these chats and find out what other people do and how they do it and get the tips
Right.
for it.
Yeah, because everyone is different. My mom is like a midday break kind of girl. So she always stays at a hotel that's like right across harbor, like one of like I think it's the Best Western that's literally right across the street from the light. She always stays there and she doesn't care what the price is because to her it's so nice to have the hotel just right there. Um and it's obviously still cheaper than like the Disney hotels as well, but that's how she is because she always takes a midday break. So when we travel together, I usually let her go back to the hotel herself and I stay in the parks. But yeah, everybody's different. And for families, oftentimes they need that midday break to go take a nap somewhere. So
Yeah.
hearing all the different perspectives is a good thing.
Yes. For sure. Yes. Okay, so you talked about you like a walking distance hotel. And if you had to pick one, what's your favorite walking distance hotel? Is it the Howard Johnson or
Probably the Howard Johnson. Yeah, it's just ever since they did their remodel. So they've remodeled buildings one and two there, and it's just beautiful. The beds, I'm not even kidding when I say the next mattress I buy is going to be the same one that they have in their rooms because it is so comfortable. I always say that I actually sleep better at the Hojo than I do at home because their beds are so comfortable. The rooms are just always super clean. The staff is amazing. Um, and I will say too, and this is obviously more for like the content creators out there, but they have a wonderful content creator program and they were so kind to accept us into their program when we only had 500 followers. So that was crazy to me. I was like, no way that a hotel thinks that we're cool enough. And it wasn't that we were getting free stays or anything. We very rarely get free stays anywhere. I will put that out there. But just the fact that they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll let you take over their Instagram," and just their entire staff is amazing. So I love that hotel, and I loved it
wow.
before we even worked with them. I will say that too.
Well, I'll have to find out more about that from you later cuz yeah,
Yeah,
I'm right there. I should join their creator program.
you should.
Okay, any experiences either positive or maybe negative that you want to share with the audience here about staying at their hotel at the hotels near Disneyland?
Mostly everything I've had is positive. I haven't had very many times where there was an issue. There was one time, and I won't even say the hotel because they corrected the issue, but they like lost our reservation, which was so strange. I've never had that happen. And I had the confirmation and everything, but for some reason they didn't have us. So they ended up we still got a room, luckily, because it was actually the Run Disney weekend when I was doing my 10K. So we needed to be there and we
Oh
needed a
no.
room. So they were able to give us a room. It ended up being that we were like overcharged and I had to wait for a refund for forever. But the hotel still like, they ended up giving us like their club level, essentially, if you're kind of versed in that language for Disney hotels. Like, so we got free breakfast and everything and like free snacks throughout the day, and they made up for it. Um, so that was okay. Another I will not say the name of this hotel, but I will just warn everyone when you're staying at Anaheim to be very careful with your vehicle. So at one of the hotels, my car was actually broken into. Someone broke into the passenger side window because um my friend and I had left a bag. It was actually a Disney bag in the front seat, and it had just like, I can't even remember what it was, some random souvenir in it, and we didn't really think anything of it. But the person who broke into the car thought it could have been something valuable, I guess. So that happened, but the hotel was amazing. They like vacuumed out my car. They let us check out later than we needed to, and like it was amazing. So they made up for it. But I will say be careful because Anaheim is kind of sketchy sometimes. So don't lock any valuables in your car, or even things that you might find valuable, but somebody will. Don't have anything visible in your car, essentially. So, but yeah, besides those two things, I can't think of anything that hasn't been positive. Like I said, the Howard Johnson staff is incredible every time I go there. The Element staff has been amazing. When I've toured multiple hotels with Getaway, the management is always so wonderful. Yeah, nothing but positive.
Great, that's great. Yeah, I think I if we can digress just for a quick moment about safety in Anaheim, some people, I've read some reviews lately of different hotels, and some people thought it was sketchy. And it's hard to know where that person's coming from, through the internet or whatever. But it's still a big city. You're still have the possibility of dealing with different things like that could happen. But I would say, on the whole, it's a very safe, and everyone in the area is working to make it safe because they know if bad stories get out like that, that's going to damage their business and the tourism. And it's so reliant on tourism there. So, and I
Mhm.
think the level of service that Disney provides affects the surrounding properties and restaurants, shops, hotels, just everything. It gets a bit higher level of service than you would find in, say, other tourist spots like near the beach or at the mountains or something.
Yeah, and that's something that I actually, one of the reasons why I love Disneyland more than Disney World is that you have all these good neighbor hotels that are so close by. And I know people say you're out of the Disney bubble, even if you're staying on Harbor Boulevard. But I feel like the staff at hotels still have the same presence as like Disneyland cast members, and they're all just so welcoming, and they really like own that Disney magic even when you're not staying at a Disney hotel is what I have found. So I like that compared to Disney World because Disney World you pretty much have to stay on property if you want to be anywhere close to the parks, and there
Yeah.
are good neighbor hotels, but they're so far away, and I feel like you don't get that same Disney magic when you stay at those. I've stayed at some in the past, and it does not feel like you're anywhere near a Disney park at all, in my opinion, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Disney is just really great about the level of service that they provide to all their guests in the park and at the hotels and wherever
Yeah.
they're running things.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, what about the return visitor, the not first time they've been to Disneyland, and maybe they're thinking, oh, we'll just go back to the hotel we stayed at the last time, or should we try something new? What advice would you give to a family like that? Should they go with their favorite? Should they try something new? What's your opinion?
Um, I tend to try a lot of hotels because obviously with our page, I'm trying to help families find what's best for them. So that tends to make me stay at multiple. I probably stay at more than some people would. Like I said, my mom always stays at the Best Western across the street, like on Harbor. She just always does that. So I think it kind of depends on, are you wanting to try different things? Is your budget changing that you can try a maybe pricier hotel? Um, but the one that I go back to the most is the Howard Johnson because I just feel so comfortable there that that's probably the one I stay at the most. It was, I think, 2021 or 2022, I can't remember. I had figured that I stayed there at that hotel like 12 nights during that year. And I'm like, wow,
Wow.
that's so many. um,
Yeah.
Right. It's just where I feel the most comfortable. So I think it kind of depends on you and your family. If your budget's changing and you can stay somewhere nicer, like you might want to do that. But if you find somewhere that's comfortable and you like it, and you know, all humans are like just creatures of habit, like they want a place that feels like home to them, then you could do that also. So I guess it kind of just depends on what you're going for. If people are traveling with children too, they might find that like their children just have a hotel that they love. Um, maybe they really like the water park, or maybe every time when you go in the summer, you're staying at somewhere with a water park, and every time you go in the winter, you're staying somewhere that has another perk or something. So I think it kind of just depends on the family, but for me, I tend to move around a lot, but then I also still have my favorite that I'll go back to as often as I can.
Okay, yeah. We obviously for being the hotel lady, I stay at a lot of different ones, but we're also DVC members, so we like to make use of that as much as possible at Disneyland
Mhm.
since that's the closest option for that uh, benefit or perk for us. But yeah, we do love the Disney hotels, but I do love visiting all the other good neighbor hotels too because there's such a variety and they do really well in trying to keep up with each other and stay updated and give you all the
Yeah, and
amenities and
quite a few of the good neighbor hotels have really nice restaurants or like rooftop bars too, which I didn't
yes.
really even mention, but like the Grand Legacy has the Fifth, which is a rooftop bar slash restaurant. And you can watch the fireworks from there. That's amazing. And I've stayed at the Grand Legacy, and that's a great hotel also. And that can be kind of budget friendly as well. The Westin has a really good rooftop restaurant. The what else? The JW Marriott, I think, has
Yeah.
one. If
Hmm.
I'm missing any, let me know. But there are a lot of like really good restaurant options outside of the parks too that you can get from some of those hotels.
Yes, I loved the one at the JW Marriott. I loved it's very small and I think not very many people know about it. So it made it really cozy and almost like you had a private fireworks viewing.
Mhm.
So that was really cool. I will say though, I've seen a lot of creators on Instagram staying at the Grand Legacy lately. But when I stayed there, I've only stayed there once. It was probably 7 to 10 years ago now. So I know a lot can change, but we did not have the best experience there. So, but I am looking forward to going back there to stay again to write about for the blog and to document for YouTube because I see a lot of people really love it there. But I still have this little hesitation because of the first experience so long ago. But
Yeah, I've stayed there probably like 3 or 4 times now, and they've remodeled, so I think that you would enjoy it. I will say, I stayed in like the main building that has the rooftop bar on top of it one time, and it was pretty loud. I would not recommend being in that building. But the other 2 times I stayed there, I was in the back building, like far away, and that was a lot nicer. And it still was convenient walk to Disneyland, even though you were like a little further back. Um, so I will say that that rooftop bar can get loud. So if you're in that main building, you might be able to hear the music. So just take caution to that. But
okay.
the rooms are better than they were in the past.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and their rooftop bar is the only one I haven't visited. I've been to the Westin and I've been to the Marriott, but I haven't been to the Fifth there, so that's on my list as well. But purple's my logo, so I know their rooms are purple now, so that's a big plus for me, you know.
Yep.
Okay, well, do you have any final thoughts for us about trip planning, Disneyland touring, hotels? We've covered a lot about the hotels, but any final thoughts?
Just like I said, really consider booking with a travel agent because they will be able to help you with all of this stuff too. Because, like we said, there are different reasons for visiting Disneyland. Some people have big families that have 6 people, and some people might just be traveling solo sometimes, like I do. So all of that like needs to be taken into consideration when you're choosing a hotel. So it just helps to have someone on your side that you can ask questions to, or find your favorite Disney creator on Instagram and ask them questions. Like every creator that I've ever met is very willing to help people out. Um, even if
Yeah.
you are not using their link or whatever, like we are all happy to answer any questions that you have. So reach out to Stacey or myself or any creator that you know on Instagram, and like we are happy to help you too. So just have someone on your side when you're visiting Disneyland because it's tough. There is a lot to navigate when you go.
So true, so true. Yes, and same. I've had nothing but helpful people from. I know sometimes the social media can get a bad rap, but nothing but helpful people so far in the Disney planning community that I've come across.
Mhm.
So, well, thank you so much, Amanda, for sitting down with us today and chatting Disneyland hotels. You can find her on Instagram and on, I forgot to ask what other platforms you're on, but at
So
Cactus to the Castle.
yeah, so really just Instagram, Cactus to the Castle. We also have a very small Facebook group that's just specifically for Arizona Disney fans. So if you're in Arizona and you want to join our Facebook group, it's just specifically for people in Arizona who are obsessed with Disney. Not even necessarily Disneyland, just Disney in general. So you can find us on there too. And that's also just called Cactus to the Castle. And I think it's like Arizona Disneyland fans or something like that.
Okay, great. There you have it. Find Amanda at Cactus to the Castle. And I'm Stacy, your Disney hotel lady. One thing we did not mention, so I'll just leave it here. You'll have to find us and compare. But we both stayed at the Hilton Anaheim recently, but we had very, very different experiences. So you can find Amanda's experience at Cactus to the Castle on Instagram. You can find my experience at DisneyHotelLady.com. I'll have that published in about 2 weeks, I think, my Anaheim Hilton experience. But you can find me also here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And we also have a hotel discussion group, the Disney Hotel Lady discussion group on Facebook. If you have specific questions or tips you're just dying to share, we want to hear them. Yeah. So thank you again, Amanda. I know it's been a busy week, but thanks for sitting down with us. And stay tuned till next week when we will have another creator interview for you. Thanks for watching.